Hi, welcome to my world. I'm Melody. I want to apologize for being late with this video. I was without my computer yesterday for most of the day and had challenges today. But here is Family Wednesday on Thursday, and I'll still get to you tomorrow for quality of life issues. But today, I wanted to have a little bit of fun. I talked to you a lot about how I raised my children, so I thought it would be nice to give you some insight into how I was raised. My mother was very meticulous and girly. My mother was very girly. When we came home from school in the afternoon, we had to change our clothes and be dressed up so that we would be presentable when Daddy came home from work. But what we did lots of times for fun was have tea parties. I love a tea party. Everything in life can be solved with a cup of tea. It's my claim to fame. And at those tea parties, I had the most wonderful set of teacups, and I actually had, I think, complete service for 6. And they were genuine bone china. And my mother would let me have children from the neighborhood, and she would often come and sit in with us. And she would read stories to me all the time. And one of the things she used to read was fairy tales. Now, I'm not particularly good at fairy tales, but this is one of the things my mother used to read. She had a book of Grimm's fairy tales. It was a tall, slender book. I don't know what happened to it. I would love to have it. I remember it. But I do have Grimm's fairy tales. So, I thought I would ask you to join me in a tea party. So if you'll pause your video and go and get a cup of tea, then we can just pretend we're sitting here together, and I'm going to read you a fairy tale. You might want to save this one to show to the kids once, because I'm actually going to read it to you. It's not that long. The one I've chosen to read to you is called The Frog Prince. I particularly like this one. And it's the first one in this book. So, here's a picture of Frog Prince as a frog. You ready? Got your tea? I've got mine. See? It is tea. The Frog Prince. Long ago, in a faraway place, there lived a king and his beautiful daughter. On days when the palace became too hot, the princess would visit a little well that was nestled within the nearby forest. There she would enjoy the protection of the shade and the cool of the water as she played with her favorite golden ball. She would throw the ball into the air and catch it in her delicate little hands. But one time she did not catch it, and it went splash into the water of the well. The princess gazed into the darkness of the well, sure that her beloved ball was lost forever, and she sat and cried. The princess gazed into the darkness, and then from behind her, a small voice was asking, "What is it that has made you cry, little princess?" As she cleared the tears from her eyes, the princess turned to find a frog peeking at her from a puddle. There he is, peeking from the puddle. Okay. "My golden ball has fallen into the well, and I have no way to get it back. Please stop your crying, Princess. I will retrieve the ball for you. Oh, thank you, little frog, the princess said with great joy. All that I ask in return is that you promise that you will give me a kiss in return. Oh, of course. Yes. Please, just get the ball, said the princess. But little did the frog know that she was thinking, that ugly frog will never have a kiss from me. I am a beautiful princess, and he is only a lowly frog. Trusting in the promise of the princess, the frog leapt into the well, and before long had returned to the surface with the princess's ball. The princess was so pleased to have her ball back that she ran off happily back to her kingdom. She didn't even say thank you to the frog. The following evening, as the princess sat down to dinner with her father, they heard a rapping on the door. A small voice just beyond the door called out, "Princess, please come and open the door." The princess went to the door, only to find the same little frog from the well, sitting on the front step. Imagine that! The frog sitting on the step of the palace there. "Who is at the door, my dear?" said the king. "It's an awful disgusting frog," answered the princess. When the king asked the princess why the frog had come to their palace, the princess told him the whole story of the promise that she had made to him the previous night. "I never imagined that I would have to keep my promise. Look at him, father. He's just a lowly frog." "You've given your word, and you must keep it," said the king. "I am here for the kiss that you promised me," said the frog. The princess squirmed at the thought of kissing the ugly little frog, but her father glared at her, and she knew that she must go through with it. So she lifted the frog to her face, and as she looked at him, she noticed something beautiful and sweet in his eyes. She kissed him gently and returned him to his place on the ground. Before the princess knew, the ugly little frog changed right before her eyes into a handsome prince. A prince with the same beautiful eyes that the frog had. "Finally the spell has been broken," said the prince. He stared at his fingers, and he stared at his toes. You can't see my toes, but trust me, I'm looking. And he said, finally, I was put under the spell of an evil enchantress many, many years ago, and nothing could free me from its grip but the kiss of a fair princess. You have saved me, princess." The princess stood there, ashamed of how she had behaved. "I am so very sorry," she said. "Can you ever forgive me for how I've treated you?" "Why, yes, princess, of course I can. But you must promise that you will always keep your word. You see, all things are not always as they seem." A wide smile spread across the face of the princess as she said, "I will always remember that. I promise." And so they lived happily ever after. So here we have the princess kissing the frog. And here they're married and live happily ever after. There's a picture of the king and the princess and the prince. I hope you enjoyed the story. I did. Well, now, as I promised, the riddle for the day, and the answer will be tomorrow. Well, Matthew did not give me a riddle as he promised. He's going to do some research because he wanted to find one that you can't answer easily. But my cousin Lorraine was very nice to give me a riddle to share. And Lorraine wanted to know, what comes once in a year but twice in a week? The answer tomorrow. Thanks for stopping by.